evening, everybody. Trent Clark will join us at hopefully about 9, a few minutes after 9. But my name is Scott Morgan, Rock the Motor City Man Mouth, welcoming you to another edition of Inside the Fix It. We have a show that will be filled with a lot of dates in baseball that I don't think you're going to want to miss. When we talk about the great American pastime, the names that I'm about to mention over the next 45 minutes to an hour or so should definitely bring you back to memory lane. With that said, Eric Katz, welcome back to the show.
Thanks for having me, Scott.
You're welcome. Taylor, as usual, welcome back.
Absolutely. Thanks.
We missed you. Yeah, thank you. I appreciate it. That was a tough situation I encountered last Monday when I suffered my fourth concussion in 3 years in Hawaii. I did not expect a 4-day stay over Easter weekend. I can think of a lot of places I'd rather be, but not in the hospital. Really? Seriously? Really? But thanks. That was nice of you to say. And George Eichhorn, my favorite pinata.
Hello, Scott.
Good to have you back.
And crew. Thank you.
All right, well, you know what? We're going to see lighthearted topics as well as some of the serious stuff. And, yeah, I'm going to start off with spring training. Think about it. March 13th, 2008, actor Billy Crystal plays in a spring training game for the Yankees. Eric, you're the resident Yankee guy. What are your thoughts about Billy Crystal playing in a spring training game for the Yankees?
He's a diehard Yankee fan, and I know he made the movie a fantastic baseball movie that I don't think gets enough love. 61, and he's a very funny comedian. Spring training, why not? I think I remember when it happened too.
I'm sure you would. I don't think there's anything you don't remember, but that's beside the point. That's why this show's going to be ideally suited for you. Taylor, you want to play in the spring training game? I know Billy Crystal did. I wouldn't be surprised if a lot of other
spring training game. Yeah. Never played that before here.
Yeah, I'm sure. What are your thoughts about Billy doing it?
Well, Billy, I mean, I've never seen it before, but I guess it's the first. Yeah, it is the first time for me. So that's a really I. Yeah. Well, I've just never heard of it. That's it.
That's okay. Hey, George, one of these days when Taylor wants to cover some live sporting events, we got to send this guy to a spring training game. I guarantee you he'll get a totally different perspective on how this thing is going. I love spring training. Everybody's happy. Fun. Everybody's relaxed. It really is pretty good. Taylor, that's something we'll have to work on as you continue to hang with the program, okay? And I think you'll be able to give me a better answer. Right now, you're really a newbie when it comes to spring training, but anything can happen in spring training. Umpires don't care. The managers don't care. They have split squad games, you name it. So why not put them in there for a little time?
Players are more interactive.
That's something we're going to have to work on, getting this guy into a spring training game.
Yes.
Billy, yeah, we'll work on it, Taylor. No big deal.
Yeah. Get him to Lakeland.
Yeah, yep. We should get him to Lakeland. I'm sure we could pull a few strings over there to do it. Good evening, Louis Tenori.
Well, I'll tell you what, as far as Billy Crystal goes for me, I mean, all the more power to him. I mean, this has not happened just isolated. This is stuff that I've seen happen before. There's a guy named Gordie Howe. They brought Gordie Howe once into Tiger Stadium. I know it's not spring training, but they let Gordie Howe work out and take a few swipes at the bat with Al Kaline. And a guy named Tom Selleck, who loved wearing Detroit Tigers caps.
Yeah.
And we all know that Tom Selleck loved baseball and still does. And I know that Tom did it as once or twice, either at Tiger Stadium or in Lakeland. I can't remember. But Billy Crystal, yeah, love affair with baseball. And you're right, Katsy. That movie, 61, he did a hell of a job in that movie. And it was really a great story that was told. And I really think that, like Scott said, it's more relaxed in spring training. They're there to have fun. You're there to also have a little bit of, put a smile on the fan's face for a guy like Crystal taking a swipe or Selleck or whoever it might be.
I tell you one thing, I just love covering spring training. And I think one of the things I enjoy about it is trying to find the hidden gems. Chad Crunk was a big help to me, and he guided me on to Jake Rogers. We all know how Jake Rogers turned out.
I remember that, yes.
Yeah, Chad Crunk, to me, was a big help. Not the most outgoing guy, but I'll tell you one thing about Chad. I said, Chad, who you got for me? Bring him over here. I got an idea. No problem. I might turn it over to him. He was Mr. Reliable if I ever saw him.
Yep.
I don't care about some of the bigger names that they get. It's those guys you're going to see later in the year that you're going to end up seeing. And I think that's the way it's pretty cool. It's one of those wide open, but yeah, I'll tell you one thing, Chris, right, this is the Taylor. You better win with the exercise. Thinking on your feet is because strength training will challenge the daylights out of you. But you have to really think on your feet. It's like no other drill. You don't know what your roster is. You don't know who's going to be showing up. You don't know who's going to be over at the golf course. You don't know who's going to be anywhere. If you think you can prepare for an opportunity to do anything in spring training, don't hold your breath. Taylor, just give me a little heads up. I know you probably read my book by now, or at least a fair amount of it. So go back to some of my spring training stuff and all the other stories I got in there with Philip. I enjoyed it. I think it was fun.
It never gets old. Spring training never gets old.
But so let's talk about a guy, this one dates back to 1973, February 27th, 1973. Dick Allen of the Chicago White Sox signs with Chicago for a 3-year deal worth $675,000. Get that. $675,000 for Dick Allen. Eric, you're the big history buff of the group. What do you think about the bargain? Well, I don't know what it was worth back then at the about Dick Allen going to the Chicago White Sox.
Well, the money was different back then, and the salaries weren't nearly what they are now. And things, it just comes to show you. I mean, at one point, the players around that era had to get a job in the offseason before the season began, and they didn't really have those year-round programs or anything like that. They would use spring training to kind of get in shape. Now, obviously, they have stuff they do obviously before spring training that's supposed to help them. But it was just comes to show you just how far the game has come in terms of salaries, and I'm sure you can obviously say that about you can say it's George Steinbrenner's fault or the elder Illich's fault, but the game has come a long way.
George, you remember Dick Allen?
I sure do. At one time he was called Richie Allen.
Yeah.
I remember at one point he said, "Richie, don't call me Dick Allen." But that all flip-flopped and changed. And he wants to be known as Dick Allen.
Mm-hmm.
Good guy, Chicago White Sox. He'd be a bit of a troublemaker at times, though. I mean, off the field. I can't remember the specific things that happened, but I know he hits a few instances where he was causing a little bit of craziness going on there. But all in all, he was a really good hitter. Yeah, man, you go back to long ways for him. And he's going to have a great day. His family will really enjoy it, as you guys know. He's going to be put into the Hall of Fame. He's really going to have a great time. And then in Cooperstown. But yeah, he was a little bit on the wild side, but he did a lot. He opened a lot of doors. We know Jackie Robinson opened the big door, but he helped open more doors too for those that were, the black baseball players that were coming up. I always admired him, not only his hitting ability, but for doing the things that he did on the social side as well.
Well, bear in mind, the guy played for Bill Veeck, so he wasn't afraid to go out there and
Bill Veeck was out there.
Mix it up and have a lot of fun.
He was also
Dick Allen playing for Bill Veeck. Everybody knows about that disco night and all that. So more power to him.
Dick Allen was also part of the Kurt Flood trade.
Oh, was he really?
Yeah,
that's right.
Dick Allen was on the Phillies at the time, and then the Cardinals were obviously looking to trade Kurt Flood, and I know one of the players involved was Dick Allen. I know Tim McCarver was part of that trade as well, and they and that was when Kurt Flood refused to go and challenged the reserve clause, and eventually laid the groundwork for free agency as we know it.
Great points, Taylor. Then we're going to go to the chat room.
Well, back in that day, that was a lot of money in that contract. But nowadays, things have changed. The contract money has gone up. But Allen has been a great player for the Chicago White Sox.
Yep.
Enough said there.
Should have been in the Hall of Fame earlier.
So let's go to the chat room. Candy, started off with Louis Panor. I'm a huge Yankees fan, and 61 was a great movie.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, well, that's good. Yeah, that's one I think with Roger Marison, if I remember right.
Yeah.
The rookie and with Dennis Quaid was also a good movie. Thanks for the observation, Ralph.
That's a
Dennis
good
Quaid
movie.
doesn't get much attention. First year, Jim Leland was the manager of the year for the Pirates. Said a uh, Trout in the off season. Okay, well,
What?
but yeah, I'm not sure if I understand what you're
Okay,
saying, but so we'll leave it at that. But Dennis Quaid
that's okay.
is another actor that is certainly worth mentioning.
Mm-hmm.
Like I said, all we'll say about Dick Allen is who knows how he would have played in today's time, but as far as I'm concerned, 675,000. I like comparing the money back and forth to a lot of these things. We're going to go over to one more topic, and then we're going to go to Eric's rant. So they drove a truck. All right, now he goes drove a truck. Yeah, that's how you spell drove a truck. Thank you for clarifying it. So you look a little better than that first thing. Good stuff, Ralph. Great way to redeem yourself. All right, the call comes back. Well, as I said before, play for Bill Veeck, anything could happen. Nevertheless, he had a great career. Anyways, all right, so let's go back to April 11, 2000, where the New York Giants played their first game at packed Bell Park. So, George, what are your thoughts about that?
The San Francisco Giants, their new stadium, I think
Correct.
they did a nice job. Well, Candlestick Park, don't get me wrong, had all its craziness and crazy winds and where it was
Cold.
designed. But this new ballpark, oh my God, with this McCovey Cove that they built, I mean, it's just it's unbelievable. It's beautiful. I haven't been there, but it's on my short list. Oh, this is something that I think that really, really strengthened the sport of baseball. Not that it needed a whole lot of strengthening, because as we know the Giants were a better draw than the Athletics. But I
Mm-hmm.
mean, with that brand new stadium, I liked it, and I liked that to think the guys are out there in a kayak or raft or whatever, trying to catch fly balls, home runs. I mean, and no, I think it's a very good ballpark. I really do think so. And we in Detroit, of course, we saw it during the World Series too when we played the Giants in the series. Uh, but I really think they did a nice job with that. It's got its own character, is what I'm saying.
What are your thoughts, Taylor?
Yeah, it's a beautiful ballpark. You can compare those to Comerica Park, Progressive Field, PNC Park, and others in back in the early 2000s generation. Yeah, these you can hit like out of the entire ballpark. Some of them hit balls out of the entire ballpark, especially into the McCovey Cove, into the water. It's like fun. Same for PNC Park. You can hit those into the water toward right field. Wow, that looks like fun to watch on TV, and fun to go to as well.
Well, I'll say this. I saw the Lions and the 49ers at Candlestick Park. That's a pretty good place. But boy, the wind was brutal there. And if it
Yeah.
rains, it really does rain. And I remember when the Lions played the 49ers, and I've been to Candlestick Park a couple of times. Haven't been to the new place. Certainly would like to go one day. But you slip in that mud over at Candlestick Park and stuff, and when the winds are blowing in from the bay, oh my gosh, it's unbelievable. But yeah, I'm intrigued though what you said too though about watching the ball go into the water. That does certainly provide an interesting dimension.
Yeah, makes me thirsty.
No,
Just
I'm with
kidding.
you. No, I'm with you. All right, so we're going to get to one more topic before we go to a station break. If I missed anybody, I don't think I have, right? Unless you
Eric,
had something.
Eric.
Yeah, you did. Yeah, you
We're going
did.
to get Eric's opinion.
Go ahead, Eric.
Well, obviously, it's still going strong today. I mean, and now it's called Oracle. Now it's called Oracle Park, but it's still going strong today. It's definitely in a much better situation than Candlestick was. Although Candlestick kind of had, when the Giants were playing there, they had its own character of itself, because whenever Maury Wills would come to town with the Dodgers, they would soak the baselines with water, and yeah. So, but obviously, it's withstood the test of time. I mean, the Giants are still building onto it, and have improved it over the years. And it's just and also to hit the ball out of there. it's the definition of a pitcher-friendly ballpark. Because in order to hit it into the bay, you really have to give it a whack. And obviously Barry Bonds did that like it was nothing when he was there. But it's fantastic. I mean, the Giants, it kept the Giants in town, and it's a ballpark that I personally want to see, and it's been terrific for San Francisco because 3 World Series have been won there by them.
All right, well, we're gonna go to Eric. He has 2 rants. So, all right, Eric, I'll let you get 2 off your chest to talk about the Colorado Rockies and the Baltimore Orioles pitching. Go ahead, Eric. The floor is yours. Then we go to a station break.
Well, the Rockies. I mean, have you ever noticed something becomes so bad that people stop talking about it because of how bad it really is? The Colorado Rockies fall into that category to the point where people don't even know what to write about because the same old song and dance with them because they can't develop players, their owner won't spend money, and it's just been a mess for years. Aside from a handful of years where they would go to the postseason, but I'm surprised that the only thing saving them from being contracted is the fact they have a really nice ballpark that's near the mountains in Colorado. But here they go again. The Rockies have been nothing but irrelevant. Dick Monfort hasn't had a clue what he's doing since he founded the franchise. I mean, we make fun of the Pirates, but God, there's no sorrier franchise in baseball than the Colorado Rockies. Now, as far as the Orioles go, man, are they underperforming? I mean, everybody was talking about them, how they would be baseball's next dynasty. And, and rightfully so, good young talent. However, they didn't open the book on pitching. Their pitching is pathetic this year. It was even pathetic when they had Corbin Burns, but because they refused to spend the money, even with new ownership. It's the same thing in Baltimore. Yeah, they're spending a little more, but God, I'm starting to question whether Mike Elias and Brandon Hyde are the ones to take them over the top, because maybe Brandon Hyde's just like Buck Showalter, where he can turn you around and head you in the right direction, but he's not going to win you the championship. It makes me question whether the rebuild really worked out at all, because right now they're 7 games under 500. Got absolutely spanked by the Detroit Tigers over the weekend, and are in. I'm sure somebody's very happy over there, and they're going downhill fast unless they can get their pitching figured out.
Okay, well, Ralph Williams' answer to you is thank you, Eric. At least Pirates have Paul Skeens. Yeah, but the question is for how long?
Even Kenta Maeda pitched a scoreless 9th inning against those Baltimore Orioles. Are you kidding me?
Yeah.
Wow.
I saw Maeda against, when I went to a Twins game. I saw Maeda get absolutely shellacked by the Twins.
Yeah. Oh boy, tell me about it.
They moved him to the bullpen right after.
Yep, of course he did. Because why not?
And then
you talk about pitching problems for the Orioles, Eric, but don't forget their hitting. They only have. Listen to this. They only have 3 guys. I'm not kidding you. 3 batters ahead of 233 average wise. So 3 guys, Reyes, O'Hearn, and Mullins, are 279 or above. All the rest of their players, including the great Jackson Holiday, all the rest of them are 233 or lower. So not only are they having pitching problems, but they're having a lot of batting issues as well.
Absolutely.
But they've been a major disappointment. I agree.
Well, Eric, I got to tell you, though, my friend, I do have a soft spot for the Colorado Rockies. And I'll tell you why. When I was there a few years ago in spring training, no, you're not blocked, Cyberewski. I see what you're saying. So I know you're covering the Panthers game, so you are not blocked by any stretch. You saw the White Sox winning the whole thing. Well, okay. Maybe we'll go back to the Future, George, like we did when we saw it over at the we know what theater we saw in Southfield. I don't remember which one it was, but Back to the Future. So you're not blocked. I think maybe you should take the general manager job for the Chicago White Sox to win it, but it's okay. I enjoy the humor, Cyberewski. Getting back to my initial point, though, and that's this. The Colorado Rockies took good care of me. I had the opportunity to talk to DJ LeMahieu. They gave me clubhouse access. They gave me whatever I wanted. And nowadays, it's another. So, and then I had Chris. What was the other one? Two Detroit kids. I'm trying to remember who the other guy was. His name was Chris something. But anyways, their PR people treated me really, really, really good, and I always pull for whether or not. I think the one thing that can't be lost in this is that Chris Bryant has been an absolute bust.
Yeah.
He really is.
Mhm.
Chris Bryant to me, everybody once upon a time worried about him not getting called up quick enough because they're about service time. Now you can give this guy away for pennies on the dollar at the dollar store. So Chris Bryant.
And of course, Scott and I have another connection. Scott, our dear friend Tony DeMarco. For
Right.
many, many years, Tony was the beat writer in Colorado, covering the Rockies. In fact, Tony wrote 2 or 3 books I know, including one on Larry Walker. So people wanted to know more about Colorado Rockies history. Look him up. Tony DeMarco wrote some books about them, as well as remember he worked for the Denver paper. Yeah.
I mentioned Tony DeMarco. I'll say it's for people watching for the first time. Tony DeMarco is my mentor.
Yeah.
Period. He taught me
sure.
everything I need to know about this business. I met him through George. Somebody has to have a mentor, Eric, and Tony DeMarco was as good as they. I didn't know he wrote it. I didn't know if he'd written a couple of books or not. That's news to me.
Yeah.
But he is in mine, and I have to reach out to him someday and do what we've got to do. So, but I'm glad you mentioned him. Larry Walker, I interviewed him once upon a time. He was great. Todd Helton was another great interview.
Oh yeah.
Todd Helton was actually on on Tennessee's football team the same time Peyton Manning was.
Yeah, I remember that. Yeah, in fact, the guy that I'm looking at was Chris Russin, I believe his name was. So
okay.
Yeah, I knew it was off the top of my head, but I remember talking to Todd about Peyton Manning. Actually, how you brought it up. So Todd, I hope he does get in the Hall of Fame. I'm glad Larry Walker did.
Should be.
Yeah,
Todd Helton should be.
So.
Great player.
Yeah, I mean, but that's good that a couple of Rockies are being acknowledged. With that said, Candy, let's go to a station break.
You are listening to the South Florida Tribune YouTube channel. If you see that red subscribe button, hit it, like us, share us with all your friends and family. But the South Florida Tribune Publishing Company, published a book, Lessons from the Microphone, Tuning into the Enduring Wisdom of Visionary Leaders. It is written by your host, Scott, the Motor City Madmouth Morganroth, and the foreword is written by George Eichhorn. Great book, great forward. These gentlemen did a fabulous job. Talks about Scott's 40 plus years in the media business and how it has changed and evolved. Old school media versus new school media. Go get your copy today. It's available on Amazon, Barnes & Noble, Kindle, Google, and Apple Books. There's also a link on our website, www.southfloridatribune.com, where there is a plethora of great content, so go check us out. If you'd like to listen to podcasts, you can find us wherever you get your podcasts. If you want to advertise, you can call Scott, 954-304-4941. And if you want to be a guest or have show ideas, you can always email us at southfloridatribune@gmail.com. Back to the program, Scott.
Thank you, Candy. Well, we all know that Kansas City has a rich baseball history.
Yep.
So what we're going to do is going to go back in time on March 21st, 1968, that the new Kansas City franchise, which did replace the Kansas City Athletics, who ended up moving to Oakland, announced their team named the Royals. So what are your thoughts about the name Royals, Eric, and whether it fits that fan base? Obviously, it seems to have stood the test over time. Glad to have you on, Pensman. We really do.
I'm not really sure. I mean, it's okay, I guess. I mean, I don't really know how to. I guess they were trying to go back to the Wizard of Oz a little bit on that one, but it's worked out for Kansas City. They certainly like them. They've certainly stuck by him, even though there was like a 28-year period there where they were just awful. Now thanks to people have gotten back into it again with obviously with them going to the World Series twice, and also with now in recent years with guys like Vinny Pasquantino, Cole Reagans, and Bobby Witt Jr.
What are your thoughts, Taylor?
Well, the Royals, They are 14-15, one game below 500. There's always room for improvement, but they've done decently. They still have work to do. They're 4.5 games back of our Tigers. The Guardians are in between, 3 games back. It's still anybody's race, but the Tigers still have the best record in the AL.
No.
The Royals teetering around that 500 mark. They might not be ready to become contenders yet, but they're getting there. So
They're still young.
Yep, they are.
Go ahead, George.
Well, yeah, let's go back to the original question. Okay, the Royals. That is kind of a peculiar name. I mean, you're calling yourself royalty. You're calling yourself super special. You're calling yourself that you're going to stand out above a crowd. That's what I think of royalty. Obviously, a queen and a king, for example. But one thing that let's not overlook here, and that's Mr. Kaufman and the job that Ewan Kaufman did, and his wife also was a big supporter of his and involved. And what they did with that baseball academy they built, Kansas City Royals, first one ever in Major League history that had their own like baseball academy. That was so cool. And how can we ever forget when that fountain first appeared at Royal Stadium?
Right.
Everybody says, wow, look at this. Again, something that was created out of nowhere. Nobody had ever done to that extent. And I give Mr. Kaufman, the late Mr. Kaufman, a lot of credit. And like you says, Eric, there was such a long gap. And I know it just totally upset, I'm sure, his family and all the fans of the Royals, that long, agonizing losing streak, and year after year after year, like you said. Oh, but yeah, I look back and those two things. I don't know much about the name Royals, but maybe he was trying to really set this team apart. And like I said, the baseball academy and then the fountains in the outfield.
Well, talk about the Royals' history in general. Think about it, okay? You've got Dick Hauser, who managed them to their first title, wasn't good enough to manage in New York, and ended up paying George Steinbrenner back by winning in Kansas City.
Yeah.
And then you got George Brett. We all know about him.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I think
Hal
Billy
McRae.
Martin.
Hal
Hal
McRae.
McRae's another one.
Yeah.
And Quisenberry. And I've had an opportunity to interview Buddy Biancalana. He actually approached me on LinkedIn, wanted to promote, and I brought him on. I'll have to get back in touch with him again, see if I get him another show or two. We'll see if he's
Splitterhoff.
Splitterhoff. Yeah, these are the other ones. Who's the last manager for them that won the World Series?
Ned Yost.
Yeah, Ned Yost. Okay.
Oh, yeah. Yep.
So Ned Yost. So they have a pretty good little history there. I think that now Mr. Clark has popped in, if I remember right. So let's bring him on. All right, Mr. Clark. How about that? Glad you made it, my friend. We have some great stuff here, and yeah, so we're just talking some history of baseball. So they have pretty good history. Ned Yost and Dick Hauser have championships themselves. So great stuff. Well, now we're going to go on to some other topics. He's just in time for this next one. So, all right, here we go. So on March 21st, 1908, Ty Cobb signs a $4,000 deal with the Tigers for a $4,000 deal with the Tigers, which is $135,000 in today's market. So my question to everybody here is, how much would Ty Cobb be worth in today's market? Trent?
He's gonna be a 20 million plus earner today. Isn't that crazy? That's crazy. Like it's yeah. So I don't know what the average earner or the best paid players were then. If 135,000 was a lot in that day, but like today he'd be a 20 million plus guy a year.
Okay. What do you think, Taylor?
Well, he's gonna have to earn it, but I think he's worth it.
Okay. What? Worth what? How much? Give me a number.
30 million.
Okay, I like it. Icorn.
Well, I would say at least 30. I might even go as high as 35 million. If he bats like he did back then for the Tigers, oh my God, are you kidding me? He's a great ball player. We all know that. And that's chicken feed what they paid him back then. I know it was a lot of money maybe back then, but sure it's not now. So I'm going to go to 30. I'm going to go 32. I'll go 32.
All right, Candy, put some stats in there about Ty Cobb. I want to see him. Eric, go ahead.
Oh boy, I mean, best all-around player. The guy hit for average. I'm sure he could figure out a way to hit for power. But obviously he played like dead ball era, so he wasn't really hitting home runs. But I'm sure if he wanted to, he could have. I'd probably put him up there at 33 AAV.
Okay, fine. Guess what? Ichiro's getting how much? $70 million a year, right? Is that what he's getting? I'm giving the guy $50 to $60 million a year. Anybody that can sharpen his cleats and knock people out of games, really, seriously, really, give the guy $50, $60 million a year. So here we go. Cobb is credited with setting 90 Major League Baseball records. Better put that one up. I can't read it anyway. All right, Icorn, you read it.
Yeah, Cobb credited with setting 90, like you said, MLB records throughout his career. He's won more batting titles than any other player with 11 or 12, depending on your source. And during his entire 24-year career, he hit 300 in a record 23 consecutive seasons, with the exception being his rookie season. And she's got more. She's got more. For his career, he amassed 4,189 hits in 11,439 at-bats. And then something else in parentheses, which affords him an unofficial 366 batting average. Wow, career.
So you know what? I take back what I said. Give him $70 million. He's getting difficult time.
Better yet, 75 million.
Yeah.
Oh, there you go. Let's just raise that number up.
I think the whole challenge Motor City is you don't have TV contracts, man. You don't have all this media money. I mean, think about it. The only way you see Ty Cobb is you got to go to a game and you can listen on the radio, right? Describing the Ty Cobb, fandom. But like, man, I mean, granted, these are the only mediums that are going on, by the way. It's either in person or radio. So that's it. But man, it's such a different time. I mean, this guy, you think about those numbers, he would just have like hero status today. He would be walking on cloud nine all the time. It would be exceptional to have a guy go 20 plus years, 23 years in a row above 300. That's insane.
Yeah, well, here, Candy's got another stat. If Cobb is credited with 1910 title, he won 9 consecutive titles from 1907 to 1915 and 12 total titles for his career. Give him 75, 80 million. Let's keep raising the price.
I think plus he's also good TV fodder, man. Like he's gonna go in and spike someone and leave somebody bloody at second base. That's good TV fodder right there. Like that's Ty Cobb baseball.
How many games would he lose for suspension or fine for something?
Ooh, that'd be interesting. How many games this guy? I can tell you between these two shows, I was sending you boys a lot of Barry Bonds stats, and they're pretty crazy, right?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, we'll get that. So all right, Icorn, you get to read Candy's next message.
Although Ty's top annual salary as a baseball player was less than 40 grand, his shrewd investments made him a financial success at an early age. One of the many investments that contributed to his early success was the purchase of stock in a little-known Southern beverage company called Coca-Cola. Ty Cobb's number is not retired by the Tigers because he played before numbers were widely used.
Yeah.
But they still have a statue for him. When numbers became common in the late 1920s or 1930s, he had already retired from playing because he never wore a number. The team couldn't retire one in his honor. Instead, as Candy says, he is honored in a memorial plaque near the entrance to Comerica Park. There was another plaque, Scott. I don't know if you remember this. And Trent, I don't know if you remember this, but outside Tiger Stadium, like where the main offices were, they had a plaque and it said Ty Cobb. And do you remember this? They said a genius in spikes. I'll never forget that. A genius in spikes. Talk about his spiking people.
Oh, absolutely.
I remember that plaque.
All right, Eric, we put it all out there. What are your thoughts about Mr. Cobb?
I mean, he's he's the best all around player. I mean, I'm sure if he wanted to, he could have hit for power. I really believe he could have, but he obviously was playing during the dead ball era where maybe the guy, maybe the leading home run hitter would maybe hit 5 home runs that season, maybe.
Yeah.
But nobody nobody owned nobody put fear in infielders than Ty Cobb.
Hey, Motor
Especially when
City,
he was on base.
do you think this is the guy like all the players, like all the fans love to hate? You know what I mean? Like if he wasn't on your team, I think the Tigers fans love Ty Cobb, and I think everybody else hated Ty Cobb. You know, and I wonder if there's always that one player that everybody loves to hate, right? Is that who Ty Cobb was?
Yeah, I think that's an accurate assessment.
Easily.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
Of course, when you're getting spiked by the guy and he sharpens his spikes, it's not going to help you either. I mean, I think they kept the trainers busy. I can only imagine if Kevin Rand was training back then, how many stories he would have had back then. God love Kevin; he's one of my best friends. But yeah, I guess that's a fair assessment, Trent. A guy everybody loves to hate. I don't think there's any question about that. That's pretty obvious.
I'm sure a guy
brought it up.
Yep, I'm sure a guy could come in and swear on a Bible saying, I got whatever leg or hand cut, and Ty Cobb was sliding.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, I can only imagine. If there's ever a time when I wish I was old enough, I wish I would have saw him play. And don't forget, he went on to manage afterwards as well. So he stayed in the game even after his playing days. Not going to get his managerial. The whole focus is on his playing career, which led to this topic in the first place. That for $135,000, you wonder what he would have made today. And the reason why I presented this topic, I'm not thinking of how much money Ichiro ended up getting, and I'm looking at even if he didn't get any hits for a long period of time, he'd still be over the 300 batting average mark. It would take a long time to get below that, is what I've read other places. But Ty Cobb, you're the best, and we love you here on the big show. We really, really do. You definitely were a bargain back then, and you certainly would be worth watching right now. So, with that said, we're going to pivot from Ty Cobb to a position I love playing the most, and that's called catcher. And I think, and the greatest catcher of all time, Johnny Bench. Yes or no, Eric?
Yes. I mean, I can't think. I mean, with catchers, they either do one thing well or the other. Some are great offensive players. I think the only guy who maybe holds a candle to Johnny Bench, or at least comparable, is Joe Mauer, who, when healthy, could do it all.
Right.
But
okay.
But man, Johnny Bench excelled at it all. The guy could throw base runners out. He could catch the ball, tag them out. He was a great hitter as well, and was a big part of that big red machine during the 70s. I mean, it's hard for me. It's hard to say that guy. It's hard for me to pick anybody else who would be the greatest catcher of all time. And in my mind, Johnny Bench is.
All right, George.
Yeah, it's going to be tough picking somebody other than him, really. I mean, there's other guys that have had good careers, but Johnny was just, I mean, you talk about Sparky Anderson using him, that big red machine. I mean, those were great years, great years, not only for Bench, but for so many of the other people. And he handled his pitchers well. Trent, you might remember this. I know Scott does too. I mean, they had some great pitchers in Cincinnati. And when Sparky was the skipper and Captain Hook, as we called him back then, but of course, Johnny Bench is known for that outstanding bat, outstanding glove, and boy, oh boy, he was a hell of a ball player. I would stick with Bench.
Yeah, I mean, Sparky Anderson, we all know, was a stud anyways from a manager. Ended up being the first manager to win a championship in both leagues in itself. Trent?
I was trying to think of if not him, like who, right? That's how I was trying to get a comparison. So my two guys were Pudge Rodriguez, who I think was a really all-around kind of great athlete. I don't know if he had the consistent offensive prowess that Bench had, right? Defensively, pretty good player. I think you can make a case for Yadier Molina. I mean, he's got a lot of years in. I'd love to see those two guys' stats next to each other. I don't think Yadier was the offensive player that Bench was. Mm-hmm. So when it comes right down to it, I think those might be the two guys that had longevity, consistently won some championships, I think.
Yes.
But just I think when you just go pound for pound, bench just weighs the scale, because there's a couple things those other guys do better than bench, but man, when it goes all around, like, they got three other categories they don't do as well as bench. So I think when you weigh it all out, I think you got to stick with Johnny Bench.
You know what, George? You get the honors of putting Candy's Yadier Molina up, and then we'll turn over to Taylor and I have a opinion or so on.
Oh, yes. Yeah. Molina is widely regarded as one of the greatest defensive catchers in MLB history. But whether he is the greatest is a matter of debate. He's undoubtedly a Hall of Famer, but some argue that others like Yogi Berra, Johnny Bench, and Pudge Rodriguez have stronger claims to the title.
Yeah, Yogi Berra, that's a good name. I mean, like, that's a good number thrown in. Like, that guy, I mean, how many championships that guy win, right? Like, it's crazy. So, I mean, by the way, Eric, I can't believe you didn't bring up your Yankee, man. I'm a little, I'll be honest. Cassie, I'm a little disappointed.
Oh, you're a little disappointed. Well, it's hard when the other guy was a key cog in the big red machine who literally could hit. And he could hit consistently and also play defense consistently.
Is that Yogi's downfall? Just not a great hitter.
Yogi was a fine hitter, but he wasn't bench.
Yeah,
and I think Yogi gets left off a lot of all-time lists just because he wasn't what people envisioned him that he could be.
I think the problem with Yogi Berra is he played in the wrong era when nobody knew anything about him in this day and age. But
he's surrounded. Well, how about Motor City? The cast he's surrounded by. I mean, much like Bench, those two guys are surrounded by some flippin' players, man. And I mean, the interesting thing is Bench is listed as one of those players. Yogi's like a role player with all the other players. He's not with the Gehrig's and Mantles and all that. They don't put him in the same category.
All right. Well, you know what? Let's go back to some more comments. You know what, though? We'll let Taylor. We'll let Taylor go ahead and say it, and then we'll put a few more. Well, all right. The catcher with the most caught stealing percentage is Roy Campanella with a remarkable 57.40 rate.
He's had a great
for the Brooklyn Dodgers from 48 to 57 good points. And then Ron Hassey is the only catcher to have played behind the plate for 2 perfect games in the major leagues. That's interesting. Hall of Famers Johnny Bench, Mike Piazza, Mickey Cochran, Carlton Fisk, Gary Carter,
There's the other names.
Roy Campanella. Yeah, we got a lot of names up there. Great stuff. All right, go ahead, run with it, Taylor.
Yep. Johnny Bench was a total machine. He was one of the best, if not the best. Like you guys pointed out, he can throw people out, tag people out, hit the ball, everything else. Just he can do it all. Period.
So I looked up real briefly. This guy had 389 home runs. And are you ready for this? 1,376 runs batted in. Johnny Bench. Think about that. 389 and 1,376, not to mention 2,048 hits. It's tough to come close to those numbers.
Yeah.
He was also an all-star just every single season in his prime.
Oh, yeah.
No, I don't think there's no other catch, considering the consecutive all-star games he went to as a catcher in that era. I don't think anybody else can have a claim like that.
Is Gary Carter in this discussion?
Gary, no.
You just brought him in.
No.
I think he's legit, man. I mean, I think that guy's another pretty good leader. Like, there's a lot of intangibles for a catcher, man. It's a tough GOAT discussion, but I think Motor City, I think you nailed it when you just said, hey, is he the best ever? If you look pound for pound and you put all the intangible categories across, which there's probably like 10 for catchers, Bench leads probably in like 6 or 7 of them. So you got to give it to him, right?
Like, he was an offensive dynamo as well as a defensive dynamo. You're not going to find that in a catcher who can do both at the same time. I mean, sure, Posey for the time for a time was like that until he started getting hurt. But a guy who consistently did it over a long period of time, you're not going to find that who can excel at both. I mean, that's that's a unicorn right there.
All right,
Yeah,
so
it's a
let me
good. Kathy
Go ahead.
brings a good point, man. There's a couple of guys that have had those kind of seasons. I remember Sandy Alomar. You know, he got a World Series MVP. He got an All-Star MVP. Had a couple years in there in those '90s where he was something pretty special, and always very solid. But offensively, never like the consistency of a Johnny Bench. Like just not throughout those years.
All right, so I'll close it out on this. I actually had Mike Piazza on my honorable mention list because he hit a lot of
Solid.
home runs. He was an
Home
honorable
hitter.
mention. I still think Bench is the greatest of all time, without a doubt. But I would have put Mike Piazza on that list. Now I'm going to put a guy who I would put on my would have been list, and that's Ray Fosse. He didn't get barreled over by Pete Rose. You only wondered. I had an opportunity to spend time with Ray when I was out in spring training. It was just unbelievable. And we talked about that situation with Pete Rose, and it was just unfortunate. But he was nice enough. We spent a lot of good quality time. Rest in peace, Ray. But I've always thought if he didn't get banged up in the All-Star game, he would have been a what would have been. So with that said, let's transition over to Pete Rose, shall we? Pete Rose is the only player in MLB history to play more than 500 games in 5 different positions: first base, second base, third base, left field, right field. So what are your thoughts, Trent, about him being able to play that many positions?
Yeah, I think he's the ultimate competitor, right? Like, you got to have his bat in the game. He comes to play every night. And he's got enough flexibility, durability to go out, and he's a guy who will show up at 1:00 and do the early work and work the wall and be a left fielder, be a right fielder. I think Pete Rose would have been fine being the bat boy as long as he got the hit. Man, like, he was just wanted to be in the game, and I just love that competitive spirit. I know there's a lot of pluses and minuses on Pete Rose, but you can never argue with the man's passion for the game, how he came to play every night. And I mean, that is a true testament. You're just talking about 5 positions, 500 minimum, 2,500 games. And that's just the 5 positions. And of course, a couple of those positions, he played a lot more than 500, right? So it's uncanny that this guy's competitive nature and willingness to do whatever it takes for a team. And by the way, you can say what you want about Pete Rose, but I've never heard a teammate say anything too negative about Pete Rose because they know Pete Rose is coming to play.
Yeah, no doubt about it. All right, well, George, you get the honor of the latest numbers on Rose, and then you can voice your opinion with it.
Yeah, well, definitely Pete Rose was something else. Career hits, 4,256. Complex question of whether he's the best hitter of all time. While his record-breaking hitting prowess is undeniable, some argue that his career was more defined by quantity of hits than quality, with a high percentage of singles and lower slugging percentage compared to some other legendary hitters. That's true. He does pale in some comparisons on that. But the point of our discussion that you started, Scott, was the fact that this man could play and play efficiently all these different positions, whether he was an outfielder, whether he was an infielder, or in those days there was no DH in the National League, he would have done that flawlessly too. But the fact of the matter is he was so pumped, so eager to play. Like you said, Trent, every game he wanted to be in there. He wanted to be in that lineup the worst way. He did. Didn't want to get hurt, didn't want to, or play through injuries. I mean, he was one of those players, I think. So, yeah, just an incredible career. And I think that, he really has a great history of being one of the best, obviously, of all time.
So Paula Mann joins us for the first time. Thank you very much for tuning in, Paula. Much appreciated. Don't forget my favorite, Roberto Clemente, gone way too soon. You won't get everybody agrees with you and then some with Roberto Clemente, unbelievable player, like you said, gone way too soon. But at least he got his 3,000 hit, Paula. So at least he made it to the 3,000 hit club. But I appreciate that contribution. It's always good when you have new people joining us, that's for sure. And Louis Sonora says that's what made Pete Rose one of the best players of his day. No doubt about that. We'll pick it up with Taylor.
Are we talking about Jeff Kent?
Not yet.
No, Pete Rose.
Pete Rose, he was one of the best. If only he did not gamble on baseball, bet on baseball, he would have made it to the Hall of Fame. But vice versa. he was one of the best. He just got himself into trouble, but he was one of he was a great player. He was one big guy. He was a tough guy. He was also a very tough manager as well. I remember him pushing a first base umpire in Pittsburgh back in the day. Man, that was wild. Wow.
Like you say, he's a passionate player, and talk about a guy that's named Charlie Hustle. There's a reason why he got pinned with that name. Okay.
No
Yeah,
kidding.
the only thing I'll say about Pete Rose is, he without a doubt he belongs in the Hall of Fame, but you just don't do what you do, and that's gamble on your own team and make bets. Gambling is a no-no. All right, Eric, you got the final words on this one.
I mean, say what you will about Pete Rose as a person, because we all know how he's not the greatest individual in the world. But but no one can. You can't say anything bad about Pete Rose on the field. The guy for the most part played a full played all games, which is something you don't see nowadays. Even when he was into his 40s, when he left Cincinnati the first time around to go to Philadelphia and eventually help them win a World Series. There is no, the guy was the ultimate competitor. Even the guy, I think, now I think he would thrive in today's game actually, because that guy just hit. You can't teach that. Some guys just hit, and Pete Rose is one of them. And I'd probably say a guy comparable to Pete Rose now in today's game would probably be Luis Arias, who was
I was thinking the same exact thing.
Where pretty efficient, doesn't strike out a lot, can consistently puts the ball in play and hits and gets a lot of hits. So, but man, you wanted Pete Rose in your lineup because you knew you were getting it. You knew you were getting 100% from him every single night.
Well, when you think about the great hitters that played the game, and we'll go to Candy's comment in a moment. You mentioned Luis Arias. I saw him play in Miami. The guy's unbelievable. But we also know Tony Gwynn was an unbelievable player, and Ted Williams was as well. So, George, you can read Candy's comment, and then we'll proceed from there.
All right. She says Rose led the hometown Reds to 2 World Series wins and 4 pennants, and helped the Phillies to 1 series win and 2 pennants. And Rose won 3 batting titles, produced a National League record 44-game hitting streak back in 1977, and broke Ty Cobb's 57-year-old career hits record in 1985, which is a very important fact.
Well, no question his accomplishments. He definitely got it done on the field. It's just unfortunate he's not in the Hall of Fame, but I'm not going to reiterate because we all know why he's not in it. Well, you know what? Taylor, you wanted to talk about Jeff Kent. You tipped your way. We're going to do it right now. Okay. Jeff Kent, Hall of Fame, yes or no? Let me give you some numbers. The average is 290, hits 2461, home run 377, RBI 1518, and runs 1320. All right, Taylor, what do you think?
I'd say yes. Those are like staggering numbers. Like, scored a lot of runs. Drove him in 300, almost 400. Wow, lots of hits, almost 2,500. He really deserved it.
Okay, what do you think, George?
No question about it, guys. I really think Jeff Kent deserves the Hall of Fame. Like you mentioned about the home runs. I mean, we were just talking about some of previously about Johnny Bench, and those numbers are very comparable to what Bench achieved. I know I'm comparing apples and oranges because Kent was not a catcher, but the fact of the matter is that those numbers are significant. And like you just said, Taylor, that 1,300. I'm sorry, 2,460, almost 2,500 hits in his career. And he played for, people may forget this, but he played for the Dodgers and he played for the Astros and the Giants. I mean, he moved around. The Guardians.
Indians.
Yeah. You would forget
the Mets, the Blue Jays. Yeah. Jeff moved around.
Well, you know what? I like about Jeff Kent. I like the way he used to stuff Barry Bonds in the dugout.
Yep.
He would take Barry Bonds' attitude. He really would not do that. Sorry, Trent. Well, see, he played for the Toronto Blue Jays, New York Mets, Cleveland Indians, as Trent alluded, the San Francisco Giants, Houston Astros, LA Dodgers
Oh
from
yeah.
92 to 2008. Kent is a five-time All-Star and 2000 National League MVP. He has the most home runs of any MLB second baseman. That's a good nugget there. Candy hitting 351 of his 377 home run position. Well, Candy, good job, because now you definitely got me saying yes over it too. All you got to do is flash those numbers in front of me. It's a no-brainer. Yeah, he's going in. I think he should. All right, so Trent, you want to elaborate? Did you already comment on this?
I have not. Coach Jeff Kent, his attitude, like the way he came to the game ready to play. Kind of a Pete Rose type of guy too, by the way. Came to play, played hard-nosed guy, always ready. Don't recall him ever seeing him smile. He was very serious about his job. So there's a couple things in here with Jeff. Like one is the one thing I really respect about Jeff is the way he played every time, always ready to go. The second thing I really respect is the fact he's doing that, bouncing back and forth in leagues. He was like National American, which a lot of guys struggle with because the different pitching styles and not getting the reps against the same pitchers. That's a challenge, and he seemed to answer it. He was really one of the first big powerhouse, second base hitters. Like there weren't too many second basemen that were power hitters up until his era where he kind of started that. I'd say the one downside of Jeff Kent is Jeff had some, teammate issues, right? Jeff had some off-field kind of challenges. He got in with Barry. That wasn't great. He was known as kind of a red ass. He was happy to let people know he didn't agree with them. So he wasn't always a fan favorite. And a guy that keeps moving around 7, 8 teams tends to say maybe a clubhouse issue.
Right.
Of course, he had an issue with I think it was the Giants when either the Giants or the Dodgers when he was washing his truck and he fell out of the truck and then he claimed something else on the injury. And so there's a lot of things with Jeff. Jeff got mired by making the mistake of not telling the truth about what happened in an injury, and he lost part of his season. And I think he was, I'm sure looking back, he'd like to do something different on that. I'm sure maybe embarrassment. Who knows what happened? But, when you look at the stats, the guy belongs there, right, man? Maybe, I'm trying to think if there was another powerhouse hitter at second base before that guy that kind of put up those kind of home run numbers. And I'm just not thinking of one. Maybe you guys have somebody before him.
Well, I mean, I like his numbers. Obviously, there's some off the field and other injuries as well to consider. But when you judge numbers and you see a guy hit 377 home runs in that position, it's pretty hard to ignore the fact that one thing we all know about baseball, it's all predicated on numbers. So, Eric, what are your thoughts about Jeff Kent?
He was obviously, what I know about Jeff Kent is obviously he notoriously beefed with Barry Bonds during their entire time in San Francisco. He also, in LA, he also had problems with Milton Bradley, which two of the wrong guys to pick a fight with. But he's obviously the only comparable second baseman to him is when it comes to power is Ryan Sandberg. But I think he should be in the Hall of Fame because the guy just hit everywhere he went. But what's holding him back though is just he didn't stay places very long, aside from maybe the Giants. But other than that though, he was he wasn't great with his teammates. He had a lot of issues there. Obviously Bonds notwithstanding, but I think he should be in the Hall of Fame because the guy practically almost hit 400 home runs as a second baseman. He ended up with 377, but his biggest problem was wherever he kind of has the same problem Gary Sheffield has was wherever he went, he didn't stay very long because eventually, despite his talent, like Sheffield, Jeff Kent had a way of wearing out his welcome everywhere he went. But I think the stats. I think the Hall of Fame has become too much of a personality contest. The stats don't lie. He's the best second baseman of that era in terms of offense, and I really think that he should be in the Hall of Fame.
Okay, two more topics I want to get to. Number one, I know this was one of the late era stuff. On March 19, 2019, we all know that Mike Trout signs an extension with the LA Angels, 12 years, $426.5 million. This is Eric's favorite topic. Go ahead, you lead off with this one, Eric.
I mean, it wasn't a bad thing for the Angels to do at the time anyway. I mean, everybody lauded it at the time because obviously Mike Trout was in his heyday at that point, racking up All-Star appearances and MVP awards. I mean, the guy was on his way to, the guy looked like a for sure first ballot Hall of Famer, but obviously we've seen how his body has just given out on him. But obviously Mike Trout, I mean, I hope he puts up another couple good years to get him in the Hall of Fame because I believe he is one. But he's going to go down as like probably one of the greatest what ifs in baseball. I mean, yes, he's had a good career at this point, but given how he's been hampered by injuries over the years and how that's just kind of put down what would probably be considered an all-time great career down the tubes. I mean, do I think that obviously he signed with the Angels because he didn't want to be the face of baseball. Because when baseball very much wanted him to be the face of baseball, but it wasn't a bad deal at the time because Trout, Trout was, at that point in time was the best player in baseball.
George.
Yeah, I mean, this is such a interesting person and player to look at because, like Eric was saying, I mean, they put their faith in him. Obviously, wanted to stay in Southern California. He loved it there. Unfortunately, he's one of those players. He just cannot get a break. Don't pardon the pun. He's had a number of injuries. I mean, a break with his team. They're rarely are they in contention at all this past decade or so. I mean, I feel sorry for him in a way. I mean, you feel sorry for somebody, George, that makes that much money? Well, I feel sorry because he's a great ball player and he's playing for a team that seems to be going nowhere. Now, whether that's part of him, it's on everybody, the owner, all the way down, up the ladder. But the fact of the matter is he is really not going to go down as one of the greatest if he cannot help that team achieve success, in my opinion. Because even though he can put some good numbers up there and will, when he hangs it up, I don't know, unless these Angels management team can get things straightened out, I feel sorry for him in a way.
Taylor?
Yeah, Mike Trout was invincible. He almost won the MVP in 2012, but Miguel Cabrera won that Triple Crown. But Mike Trout put up so many numbers for the Los Angeles Angels. In other years, I thought he deserved AL MVP. So Mike Trout has to be in the Hall of Fame sometime in the near future.
Brent?
I mean, he's a complete player. He's a 5-tool player. They don't come along very often. I mean, obviously 2019, I don't know if he was the highest paid guy going 35 plus over 12. That's a crazy number. It also puts him under contract at 31, which right now that is like, will this guy make it on his health? Big question mark. That's why Lloyd's of London exists, I guess. You throw some insurance on guys. But like, it's I'd love to see the guy play for a winner. I'd love to see him play in October. And unfortunately, being a longtime Angel myself, it's tough to be a West Coast team. Like I bet I haven't seen him play 15 times in my life. I mean, it's late games. I'm not staying up for a 10 o'clock game. That's a start of the game. And so it's a tough gig, man. I think no matter how you look at it, but before it's all said and done, Trout's just gonna have Hall of Fame numbers because he's that good of a player. I do feel like the money is a factor, and this is what I think that. I think if he was a $15 million a year guy and he put up all those numbers, they'd be like, wow, huge value. This guy was incredible. The Angels stole the deal for that number. But because of his big value, obviously expectations rise, right? And so it's like, man, he's one of the best players in the world, and everyone's going, he's really not ceding his contract. It's like, dang, man, like, it's a tough gig. And listen, again, George, like you said, I don't want to put anyone like, oh, it's tough to, get paid to 420 some million, right? But that is gonna hang over him unless he finds his way to a great 4 or 5 years of health to finish out. And by the way, with modern health, strength conditioning, nutrition, everything else that's going on right now, he really could do that. So I'm not gonna put that past him, because the beautiful thing about Mike Trout is the 5 tools have not gone away right now. He's still steady.
Yeah.
I mean, the only thing I'm going to say about it is he goes into that what could have been without the injuries.
Yeah.
That's all I can say. What could have been without the injuries. Another thing I'll say about it, one more topic to get to after this, and here's what we have. Not only with that's another reason why I'm not big on those big contracts over 12 years, because you're always worried about the back end that makes them a little bit difficult to do. You may get some great years in the first so many years, but all of a sudden, a guy, maybe when they hit their 9th through 12th year, wonder what kind of productivity you're going to have. And I've seen him play a few times. And he's a special player. He's great for the game of baseball for sure. And he's in a big market, more or less, in LA. But they couldn't win with Trout and Ichiro, so it really makes you a little bit wonder. But he's one of those what could have been, and I just don't like the back end of those long-term contracts, which I think you're starting to see the owners sway away from that a little, like going 8 to 10 years versus 12 anymore. And you're going to start seeing more of that go on as time goes on. I don't care about the Vlad Guerrero one that'll go 15 years out in Toronto. Go ahead, Trent.
Motor City, let me ask you a question. Would it be different if Trout was a Philadelphia Philly or a New York Yankee? Because those teams have won world championships in his era, a couple of them, or been right there. Would it be different if he was in October and playing for those teams and a big contributor?
Yeah. I think it's a no-brainer. Yeah, sure it would.
He's only gone to the postseason once.
With the it's too bad. I mean, listen, I think that's a valid point. Yeah, it would be different if you went to a franchise. The Angels only have one World Series championship in their history, and that's because of Mike Sosa. And I know you
because of who?
Really well. There you go.
Yeah, you're right.
Troy Glass.
Right.
Troy Glass.
But to answer your question, I don't think there's any question about it. It would, but the perception is he wasn't. So, and unfortunately, he's buried in Disneyland, so to speak.
Yep. Well, what's going to happen is at the end of his career, if things keep going the way they're going, he's going to have the same problem that Don Mattingly has had with getting into the Hall of Fame, where Don Mattingly only went to the was probably arguably the best player in baseball during the mid '80s. But then when the back injury kicked in, he wasn't the same. The Yankees didn't really go to the postseason until the last year of Don Mattingly's career. Mike Trout might run into the same problem that Don Mattingly has. 5-tool player, dominated for a period of time, arguably best player in baseball, and then the injuries kick in, and then his team's not really winning. So, he's having a similar career to Don Mattingly almost.
Yeah, that's an interesting comparison. All right, final topic of the night. We've talked about great hitters all night. We might as well finish off with one. Ichiro Suzuki, career hit 1278 for the NBP team out in Japan. So they've got 1278 in his pocket. MLB's got 3,089 equals, and I did check my math. I'm not very good at it, but I do have calculators, thank God. 4,367 2 leagues and 1 Ichiro. My goodness. Trent, it don't get any better than that with Mr. I just wish the guy would have gotten in with 100%. Whoever didn't give it to him, shame on them. But Ichiro, to me, is a guy that I can make a case as one of the greatest hitters of all time. And he actually passes Rose's number when you combine the 2 leagues. So what are your thoughts about Ichiro?
Yeah, I mean, listen, the guy was a marvel. Love to watch the guy. Another 5-tool player, right?
Yeah.
And the reason for that, maybe that separates him and Rose, is because he did have some power, right? He really hit for power. Guys would get it on the inner half, and he could yank it. Not about oppo power a lot, but man, gap guy, triples, doubles, singles, home runs.
Right.
Pretty fun guy to watch, man. And I mean, he's got probably like 5 put out highlights that are some of the greatest of all time because the arm is just legit, right? So, another 5-tool player that kind of proved it. I don't know. It's a tough comparison. Rose, they're a bit of a different player, but I would put Ichiro on higher on tools than Rose.
Okay, that's fair. What do you think, Taylor?
Ichiro was like incredible, an incredible outfielder, an incredible hitter. He threw. I remember him during his first year with the Seattle Mariners. He threw a strike after making a catch to home plate, holding the runner at third. It was like a perfect line drive throw to the catcher. That was in his first year, and that was at Comerica Park in Detroit in 2001. And that shows an example of how unbelievable Ichiro was as a player. Just amazing. He deserves a Hall of Fame spot as well.
He only deserved 100% of the vote to get the Hall of Fame spot. I don't think he got it. All right, George, read Candy's comments, and then you can follow with her.
Ichiro also set a number of batting records, including MLB single-season record for hits with 262. He achieved 10 consecutive 200-hit seasons, the longest streak by any player in history. And he threw to the Mariners manager, longtime catcher and former teammate Dan Wilson, showed that even at 51 years old, he still got it, firing an 84-mile-per-hour heater in a full windup and in full uniform, the velocity of which was captured on the stadium radar labeled Eachometer. Eachometer. Yeah, I mean, what can you say? This guy was phenomenal. I mean, these stats are just incredible. Like you said, Scott, you added in his time in Asia there, plus the time in the major leagues. Seattle had some good seasons with him, and obviously then he went on to the Yankees in Miami, and then ended up back at Seattle. I figured just an amazing athlete, such a great talent. He did so much to open the doors for Asians in baseball.
No, he
He really did. And, it's an incredible story. Love affair. The fans loved him. The teams that he played on, everybody loved him. His teammates, great all around guy. And you're right, Scott. The guy that didn't want to vote for him is going to have a head examination.
Yeah.
Man, see if there's anything up there for that writer.
That's why he's anonymous, because he doesn't want to get death threats. I hate to say this, but that was absurd.
Yeah,
it really was. I mean, Ichiro, like you say, open the. I'll follow you, George, and then I'll let Cassie have the last word. To be able to play the way he did, even surpasses Rose for all-time hits with 43-67. That says a lot. To be able to do it at two of the highest levels of baseball in the world. You're talking about Japan, which is certainly known for having some great baseball out there, on top of what he did in the United States. I mean, think about it. Even in the U.S., that guy gets, 3,089 hits? I mean, it makes you wonder. And I had a chance to see Luis Arias, and Luis Arias was a dynamite player. I hated to see Miami let him go, but I knew the Marlins' direction was they were going to move on from players under new management. I understand the philosophy. And we'll talk more about the Marlins as I continue to go back to their games a little bit more, and maybe get some sound incorporated in these shows as well. But Ichiro Suzuki, to me, is clearly a Hall of Famer in more ways than one, and I'm glad he got in Cooperstown's the biggest no-brainer. I believe he's a first ballot Hall of Famer anyway, so at least he got that one. All right, Cassie, you have the final word on this.
Well, the guy transcended Major League Baseball in Japan. I mean, obviously we talk about Ohtani now, who's probably the first power hitter from Japan and can do it prolifically. But
Right.
Ichiro transcended the game for people over in Japan. Ohtani just continuing what Ichiro began. I like to say that Ichiro crawled before Ohtani could run. And I'm telling you, like, he is the greatest Japanese baseball player of all time in Major League Baseball, bar none. And I'd say better than Ohtani. But
Wow.
but he guy could have been a power hitter if he really wanted to, but that just wasn't part of his game. He hit the ball wherever he felt like it. He could steal bases at the drop of a hat. And more importantly, he was absolutely electric in the field. I mean, Dave Niehaus sums it up best, my oh my, because he really was that kind of player, and he transcended the game in Japan. He ultimately kind of bridged the gap between Japan and Major League Baseball. It was him who sparked the interest over there, and eventually we start seeing Japanese players coming over from Japan to play Major League Baseball. He was the first of his kind to do it, because after Ichiro did it, about a year or two later, Hideki Matsui comes over, and obviously that one guy, I forget his name, but he was also a closer for he was the closer for the Mariners for a little bit. Forget his name at the moment, but he ultimately opened the door and showed that Japanese players can be successful playing Major League Baseball. If there's no Ichiro doing what he did, Ohtani would not be here.
Well, all right, Candy just hit us with some more facts. So you know what? I'll read them. Among the Mariners' all-time leaders, Ichiro ranks first in hits, 2,542, batting average 321 at bats, 7,907, triple 79, stolen bases. As Eric alluded, he was a big base stealing threat, 438, and also ranked second in games, 1,861, and runs scored. Well, you think about some of the all-time great
3,292. Hockey smokes, Bullwinkle.
And talking about a team that's also employed Ken Griffey Jr. as well. So, I mean, how do you not say he's one of the greatest Mariners of all time? So, great show. I'm glad we had an opportunity to go back to some of these older players. I believe that the one thing that's important here is that we don't lose sight of them. I'll never forget the time, and I told this to George, that I went to, was it Troy Percival, I think it was, the closer who used to be for the Angels. And when I asked Mike Morath who Mickey Lolich was, he didn't know who he was. And then Troy looked at him and said, "You don't know who Mickey Lolich was?" That's when you get to realize that some of these older guys know the history and the younger guys don't. It just blows me away. So that's it. And so, you know what I'm going to be doing maybe like once a month is I'm going to go back in time, and we're going to talk about some of the great players that played this game. Because if it weren't for these great players to play the game, you wouldn't currently have the athletes that you have now. So glad that Trent was able to make it tonight. We sort of want to make sure that we were able to get some of the fillets out there for him. But we had a lot of other good topics that were worth putting out there as well. That's the thing about baseball. You can come up with so much interesting stuff that's ridiculous. So as we get ready to wrap up the show, Trent, let everybody know how they can get a hold of you.
Hey, you can reach me at trent@leadershipity.com. I am on podcast at Winners Find a Way, and you can find me anywhere on social under Trent M. Clark or Leadershipity, and my book, Leading Winning Teams with Wiley Publishing. Please pick it up. It's on Audible. It's on ebook, and of course, the hardcover available now. So check it out. All fine retailers.
Great stuff. All right, Taylor.
I am the creator of the Michigan Sports Truth podcast. Watch it on YouTube, subscribe. Also, turn on all notifications on the bell icon and click or tap on live to find its latest full episodes. Also, follow it on X, Instagram, Threads, and TikTok at Michigan_Truth. Like its Facebook page. And follow and listen to it in audio form on Spreaker. And follow me on TikTok, X, Instagram, and Threads at DT2Phillips with 2 L's.
Once again, Taylor, great job. Great job of you, Trent, for getting in here. Eric, I know all about you. A 30-year-old guy that has a mindset, the history of a 100-year-old guy. But you're up next, Cassie. Let everybody know how to get on.
You can follow me on my X account at Sports Team News, or check out my blog at BellyOutSports.com, where I write about all things baseball. And if you think I hate your team, yes, I sincerely loathe your team.
Yeah, you should trademark that.
Yeah, I love it every week.
Yeah, I'll tell you what, I enjoy hearing it every week. Got to trademark it. And again, it's expensive. We got to get you down to Florida anyways and cover the Rays for as long as they're going to be there. But I'm not opening up a can of worms tonight. Icorn, go ahead. You're next.
All right. Yeah, you can read me at the South Florida Tribune under the contributors section. I write locally for the Downtown Detroit Monitor. I have a book out there, Detroit Sports Broadcasters on the Air. Thank you for the cover shot there, Candy and Scott. And there's a link at the end of my column to purchase the book. It's got great sports broadcasting history. All the legends are in there, especially our dear friend Ernie Harwell. And what else? Oh, you can find me on X at Sanji Sports 99 and follow me on Facebook under my name, and also gicorn at yahoo.com, or else see you on Instagram or any of the other social media platforms that we're involved in. But 45 years with my friend over here to the left of me. 45 years.
Thank you, George. It's been a great 45
Yeah,
years. Yeah,
it's been great.
Even
Thank
though
you.
Cassie loves to bring up me slamming that paper right on her name. Hey, and you know, I want to tell you something. The lady's name at the time was Miss Ann Nozeski, and one of the nights, she was a sweetheart. She was. She just didn't realize she had a raging bull at my age who she challenged everybody to get published, and I had Icorn take care of it, and she was amazed. I didn't care about the I didn't care about the 2 paragraphs I got in there. I was looking to show this woman we don't need to, and that's when I had them say, "Don't boycott the Olympics." She graded me down to an A- for it. I said, "I don't even care. You motivated me to get this thing." And lo and behold, Icorn delivered the goods, and I slammed that paper. That's how that story goes. All right, Candy, take us the rest of the way.
South Florida Tribune Publishing Company published a book, Lessons from the Microphone, Tuning into the Enduring Wisdom of Visionary Leaders. It is written by our host, Scott the Motor City Madmouth Morganroth. And the foreword was written by George Icorn. Awesome job, guys. It talks about how the media has changed over the 45 years that they have been in the media industry. It's got a picture of a young Scott with the young Tommy Lasorda. Go get your copy today. It's available on Amazon, Barnes & Noble, Kindle, Google, and Apple Books. There's also a link on our website, www.southfloridatribune.com, where there is a plethora of great content. Go check it out. Our YouTube channel. If you see that red subscribe button, click it, like us, share us with all your friends and family. We've been putting up some great content lately, so go check out the website and the YouTube channel. And if you like to listen to podcasts, you can find us wherever you get your podcasts. Monday nights is baseball night here on the South Florida Tribune. Tuesday nights is football. Wednesday nights on Sports Exchange. You never know what we're going to get. You're going to get a little bit of hockey tonight, or this week, though. And then Thursday nights on Fire Up again. You just never know what you're going to get. Tune in to find out. If you want to advertise or sponsor a show, call Scott 954-304-4941. And if you want to be a guest or have topic ideas, you can always email us at southfloridatribune@gmail.com. Great show, guys. Back to you, Scott.
All right. Just a programming note, too. The reason why that baseball has now been moved to 8:30 is I brought back the professor and the pupil, and I have a guy by the name of Steve Reichel. Keep in mind, people, that this guy on Twitter alone has 23,600 followers.
Yikes.
Yeah, that's a lot.
Yeah.
But he showed me a lot. He's a big help to me on social media, and he showed me a lot of things about the technical stuff as well. So that's why we've moved the show to 8:30. I'd like to. Let me give you a little info about Steven. Okay, here's a guy that's a fan. Now it's up to me to take him and turn him into a bona fide journalist by being an efficient writer. Eric knows how important it is to write because he does it. And Steven getting there, but what he does on the air is the most candid, colorful individual I've ever seen. If you want to see him before our show on Professor and People, it's one thing. Tomorrow night at about 8:20 p.m. Eastern time, he comes on Inside the Pigskin, so you can watch him there. I have a lot of great people in my system. I've never seen a system here that's really starting to emerge with some prospects. Taylor, I still view you as a really great prospect, and you've come a long way since I first got to meet you. Eric, what can I say about you, man? What can I say about you? Yeah, yes, I'm wearing a Sun Devils shirt tonight because we did talk about Barry Bonds. For those of you who didn't know, he didn't go ahead. He played over at Arizona State. Good observation, though, Jay. So I got a lot of great people in my system as well. And I have a young lady her name is actually Jennifer Portis, who I met over in Tampa. And she when I was asking some questions, she was really like the way I ask questions. For me, it's as normal, but don't tell that to a young lady like that seeing you for the first time. She bought my book, and hopefully one of these days she'll be a guest on the Professor of the People. And we have other partners. Pensman also comes on our show, on our platform to do his stuff. Steve Reichel has his, and Three Chicks in a Pod or Chicks and Salsa, they get to do their thing. And what's also good about it is we can incorporate these individuals on all these given shows. I think you guys met Megan Price before. She did an unbelievable job, and hopefully I'll have her at some point. So a lot of good things working here, and I'm just so glad. The one thing about this group here that I really, really like is they're dedicated to the show. They really, really are. They show up every single week, and that's the biggest thing is we're trying to build something where you have a lot of continuity with the same people you can see every single week. That's why I am so proud of this group. Taylor, Trent, George, and Eric, you guys are my thoroughbreds. And to me, you just make my job really easily because I can depend on you to come up with great, insightful comments. So, yes, Jay, dedication and your dedication. I think, did you get your hat, by the way, Jay? I don't remember, but I know Candy put it out in the mail. But this guy here is another one who's really loyal to the show.
Thanks,
in the
Jay.
chat room. So we have a lot of great people that are associated with it. And yes, I'm so proud of everybody. And I'm trying to build a juggernaut here, and that's what we're doing. So yeah, he did get it. So at least I know the mail does work a little bit. So, but that said, I want to thank everybody for joining us tonight on 108 Stitches Baseball Talk. You got a very legitimate, cool hat, by the way. There you go. So I want to thank everybody for joining us. Also, thank you for all those individuals that participated in the chat room. And a bigger thank you for Candy Ebling for providing all the necessary research that able to fill in the blanks with all these topics. Good stuff, Candy, as usual. She's behind the scenes and she has her own show. Fire Up, you got to go out there and see her in the Country Club on Thursday night. With that said, on behalf of Eric Katz, George Eichhorn, Taylor Phillips, and Trent Clark, this is Scott Morganroth saying thank you very much for joining us on the show. We'll see you next Monday night. God bless everybody and hope you enjoy the baseball. Bye now.